following the call, should there be a need for that. This time, I'd like to introduce the Ottawa Charge, and I'll turn things over to Media Relations Manager Jean-Francois Plot.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Well, it's been an interesting 24 hours here in Toronto, and today we have our general manager, Mike Hirshfeld. He can talk about the trade that we did yesterday with Toronto. So, Mike, maybe before we take on questions, maybe if you want to do an opening statement about the move we did yesterday.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks very much for joining us today. Again, happy to answer any questions you may have. Before I take a question, though, I just want to acknowledge and thank both Savannah and Haley for all that they've done for this organization. They are both, day one players for PWH Ottawa, as it was known then, and now the Ottawa Charge. And I can't thank them enough for the efforts, everything they did to help us build, our foundation here in the community in Ottawa. So we're incredibly grateful for them. Obviously, trades are difficult things, and particularly when there's a human component, particularly when it's day one athletes who were there from the very beginning. And these two were incredible for our organization. And I just want to acknowledge them and wish them all the best in Toronto. I'm sure they'll do incredibly well. So with that, again, happy to take any questions.
All right, maybe the first one on my screen here I see is Donna Spencer. You can go, Donna.
Hi, Donna from Canadian Press. Thanks. Mike, will Jocelyn and Victoria be in the lineup tonight in Toronto?
Yes, they will be.
Okay. What did you accomplish with this trade for your team?
This goes back to something we talked a lot about in the off season, at the draft, in our free agent period. And so, Jocelyn is the ultimate competitor. We think she's going to help us in that department. So, when she became available, when Gina and I were talking about her, that was something that really excited us as an organization to get someone with, again, her toughness, her skill set, particularly from the defensive side, but also what she brings, in the clubhouse. She's an incredible leader, an incredible teammate. And so, those were added benefits for us as well. We have a couple of young defenders, Ashton Bell and Steph Markowski, that we're excited about, their future and where they're headed as players. So to have Joss as well be a mentor for them, it really ticked a lot of boxes, and again made this trade very exciting from our perspective. So, and that's just talking about Jocelyn. Obviously, Victoria, we really like the offensive creativity she brings to the table. We like her skating ability, and we think that she's someone that perhaps didn't get quite the opportunity that she deserved in Toronto, and so we're excited to give her those opportunities here in Ottawa. So for us, this was a really tough trade. Obviously, when you trade away, again, as I said, players here from day one, but again, one that we think moves our organization forward as a whole.
Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Maybe we can go to John Warrow from AP right now.
Hey, Mike, John Warrow with the AP. How you doing?
Hey, John. Nice to see you.
Nice seeing you. And just to kind of follow up, knowing that you wanted to get tougher, and you got Serdachny with the top pick in the draft, or your first round pick, I'm sorry. Do you worry what you're losing out offensively? Because it's still going to take goals to win these games, and what Savannah could bring.
No, we're not worried at all. I mean, obviously, Savannah's a incredible offensive talent, but we factor all of these things into the decisions we make, and we feel like we have players, on the back end that can really help us on the power play and drive offense. So I think, we've been really impressed so far with Jinsey Rose and her game this year. We feel like she's taking it up another notch from where she was last year. We're excited about the offensive, potential of Ashton Bell. She's just learning to play defense. But again, what she does offensively is really exciting for us. And Rania Savalainen is someone we, as you said, mentioned, drafted in the second round this year. We're starting to, we're now that we understand her game a little bit better and have seen her in action, we feel like there's offensive upside there. So we feel like we're in a good spot. And again, it's always hard when you lose a talent like Savannah. But again, for us, getting tougher on the back end, making it harder to play in our zone, making it harder to get to the front of our net. That was something that, again, Jocelyn brought to the table for us. And, in addition to all the clubhouse stuff I talked about earlier, again, we feel like we're in a really good spot.
I get that. And just as a follow-up, what was it that prompted the trade now, 6 games in, with both teams really having similar records? And, what prompted, was there a need you felt for a shakeup or not?
No, good question, John. No, we didn't feel that at all. It was just an opportunistic situation that came up. Gina and I talk on a regular basis. Once I learned that there may be an opportunity that Jocelyn was available, that piqued our interest. Again, going back to that philosophy I talked about, in the off season and the draft. From there, it got more serious. And then over the last couple of days, we really narrowed in and got the deal done yesterday. So there was no intention other than being opportunistic. And I think both sides felt the same way.
Good stuff, Mike. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John. If you guys have follow-up questions later, we'll go through the list here first. But we got Julien Paquette from the One newspaper in Ottawa. Gatineau.
Yeah, I'm in Ottawa right now. Hi, Mike. I was just wondering, you've talked about through all since the start of a training camp, basically about how your team needed to be better defensively. Does this move mean that you weren't quite satisfied with what you've seen so far this season, or are you just trying to double down on the strength you're trying to build for your team?
I think we've done a lot of good things so far to start the season, Julian. But again, we want to continue to get better, and want to make sure that we saw the other night. Mash kept us in that game and played incredibly well. We want to just keep working on that aspect of our game, and again, we think that Jocelyn can help us do that. She can help the whole group of defenders just with her experience and her toughness. And we think that resonates with the entire group. So, again, feel very good about where we are, considering we've been on the road pretty much for a month and a half here. We feel like we're in a good spot. We played well the other night, but we always want to continue to get better.
And I wanted to ask as well about Victoria, because we don't know much about her in terms of PWHL play. She, as you've mentioned, she might not have gotten the best opportunity in Toronto, but you see her stats when she was in college and even in the CWHL. She's been a pretty potent offensive player in the past. So, does your confidence in her ability comes basically from what you've seen in the past from her, and what do you think would happen in the past few years where you've seen her production dip a little bit?
I think, Julian, if you know her backstory a little bit, she came to the league late last year. She finished up teachers college, so she missed most of training camp. And then when she started playing for Toronto, obviously Toronto got on a great roll last year, and it was hard to get opportunities in that lineup because they were playing so well. But we know the offensive talent that's there. In fact, Brian DeRoche, the former head coach at Boston University for over 20 years. He's on our scouting staff here in Ottawa. He reports into us, and Brian knows Victoria very well. Brian coached Victoria in university, so we have a firsthand scouting report on her game and what she brings to the table. And Brian was very excited about the offensive skill set and the talent. And again, Toronto has a great team and lots of offensive firepower. Maybe again didn't get the opportunity that she wanted, but we're going to give her that opportunity here in Ottawa. She's going to play on the second line tonight on the wing, and we're excited to see how she does.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Julien. Carissa Duncan, CBC.
Thanks. Hey, Mike, good to see you.
Hi, Krista. Nice to see you as well.
Hey, yeah, just, thinking back on the last year, like if we look back to where we were on last New Year's Eve, you're getting ready for your home opener, and nobody really knew exactly what to expect on the ice. I mean, we had a taste of it in Utica, how physical it was going to be, but you probably didn't know the full scale of what these games were going to be like and how close they are. So I'm just wondering if you could talk a little bit about sort of how the league has evolved in the last year for one, and then how that has affected, the decisions, the player personnel decisions that you're making now compared to where you were in September 2023, not really knowing what the product was going to look like on the ice.
Yeah, I think I spoke a little bit about this over the summer. Like we acknowledged that we didn't quite get the physicality aspect right last season, and wanted to add to our group to get tougher that way. So that's definitely been a factor in our approach. So I mean, I've talked a lot about toughness, particularly on the defensive end. I think the other aspect that Jocelyn really brings for us, Carissa, and I don't think anyone ever anticipated this either, but every game in this league is a 1-goal game, and it's rare. Like we won by 2 the other night, but it was a battle right to the very end. And everything's so tight, everything's so close, the margins are so small that, again, we just felt like having someone like Jocelyn, the experience she brings, the world championship rings, the Olympic medals, in third periods and tight games, that's going to help us, get over the finish line. So that's another aspect of this deal from our perspective. And again, I think she's going to help elevate our whole defensive group. And I think the leadership, that she brings to the table, I think is going to elevate our whole group. So that was part of the thinking, is how tough these games are to win, how everything's so close, how everything's a 1-goal game. And so, again, she's going to help us there. And we did that last year. So just to finish that thought, we did that last year. I mean, that's why we brought Cheyenne Darkangelo on board as well. Like, she has a veteran. She's a veteran as well. She, obviously won the championship in Toronto. So that's the kind of player that we think will help ultimately make the difference in this league, because the games are so competitive and the margins are so small.
For sure. And I know you mentioned the scouting report from Brian on Victoria. I was just wondering if you got a bit of that from Haley Irwin on Jocelyn. I know they've, played together, and maybe Jocelyn might have even crossed paths with Carla as well, like toward the tail end of Carla's career. And obviously, she's a defender. So what did Carla and Haley have to say about her?
Yeah, I mean, Carla did play with her. Haley played with her a significant portion of her career. Also talked to Jess Campbell, who consults for us as well. Jess said she was the best roommate she ever had, the best teammate she ever had, and the toughest defender she's ever played against. So everyone said a lot of the same positive things, and that's what gave us so much confidence in making this deal. I actually talked to Brianne Jenner this morning as well, and Brianne said the same thing. Best teammate she's ever played with, toughest defender she's ever played against. So that's what gave us the confidence to make this move, and we're just excited to add that to the on ice team, but also the off ice group. And again, I think it moves us forward.
Thanks. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Carissa. Moving on to Tyler Kuhl.
Thank you, John. Mike, Tyler Killier from Daily Faceoff. Thanks for taking the time here today. I want to ask you about Jocelyn. Everyone kind of knows that her and Renata Fast prepared at the hip over there in Toronto, and obviously with Team Canada too. Is there any concern on how she's going to fit in with, let's be honest, a relatively new defense partner? Because she hasn't really had to play too often with anyone else other than Fast. Is there any concern of that from your side?
Absolutely none. I mean, she's played at the highest level for a long, long time, and so I have no concerns that it'll be a very quick adjustment.
And for Bach, you mentioned the fact that she obviously in prior years she obviously had great offensive numbers here, and you mentioned she'll be on the second line here. was that kind of planned ahead of time with McLeod? Be like, hey, if we bring Victoria in, here's where we can put her, or is it kind of, hey, we made the trade, and then you and Carla kind of collaborated and said, all right, where can we fit her in with this lineup?
To be honest, Tyler, I mean, Carl and I talked a lot over the last 3 or 4 days as this deal came together. I don't get involved in lineup decisions like that. That's purely Carla's decision where she's going to play and who she's going to play with. So I don't get involved with that. But again, I think both of us knew as we were orchestrating this deal that there was a hidden gem here, and we believe that, and we believe we've got to give her opportunities to show us that. I mean, she's a former Team Canada player who's played at the highest level in this game. So we want to give her the opportunities to show her skill set. And again, but the decision tonight where she plays and who she plays with, that's Carla's decision. I don't get involved in that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tyler. Next, C. Benwell in Toronto.
Thank you very much. Hi, Mike, and thanks for the time today.
Hi, C. How are you?
Good, thank you. Based on what you just said, I don't know if you can answer this, but do we know who Larocque will be paired with?
She's going to play with Jinsey tonight.
Okay, thank you. And then you also partially answered this, but last year you made a couple of pretty significant deals. Weren't afraid to do that, and other teams weren't as bold, let's say. So what's, overall, what brings that philosophy about, and why are you that bold in doing these bigger trades?
I don't know if it's bold, C. I would say it's just opportunistic. Like, again, we are working hard every day to get better as an organization, from top to bottom. And my responsibility obviously is making sure that the hockey club gets better. So when there's an opportunity to do something, we try and take emotion out of it. We try, as difficult as it is, we try and take the human component out of it. And if there's an opportunity for us to get better, we're going to make that move. So I don't know if it's, I have a unique background compared to some of the other general managers coming from, a legal background and a business background. Maybe that's some of the rationale. But again, we're just trying to be opportunistic and get better every day. And that's, again, this opportunity came along, and for us, it made a lot of sense.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, C. Before I see John, you're back there, but we're going to take one from Chris St. Clair first.
Hey, Mike, thanks so much for doing this. I know that you have kind of touched on this a little bit, but I just wanted to take a moment, like maybe it's a sentimental side of me, but maybe just to touch a little bit more upon, trading away a couple of really core, really valuable, really important players, and speaking more or maybe less about their production on the ice and just what they meant to the team, and your thoughts about trading them away, and how those conversations may have gone.
Yeah, again, Chris, it's a really tough part of this business. It's no one enjoys it. But again, we made this move because we thought it was the best interests of our club. Again, I can't say enough about Savannah. She was our first ever first round draft pick. She came to work every day. She was part of our leadership group. So again, she helped move this organization forward from when we started on day one to where we are now. And Scams, can't say enough about her. What she does on the ice, she's a hard worker. She battles out there. She competes. She scored the first ever goal in our history. So those are memories that we'll all have. But again, this is pro sports, and unfortunately, at times sentimentality goes out the window, and you got to make the best move for our organization. But hopefully, I'm sure I'll keep in touch with them down the road. I look forward to watching their success, both in Toronto and international in the international game. But I can't say enough about them both as people. Again, A plus.
And maybe just a quick follow-up question here, if that's okay. But what's it like? Like you trade these players, and now they are literally going to be playing against one another right now. Like tonight, they're going to be playing against one another. What What's that like? Maybe those conversations where it's like, hey, you're going to be traded, but also, by the way, you're going to be playing against us, tomorrow. What are
Yeah,
those?
it's a unique situation for certain. I'll be honest. I mean, when we called them, last night to let them know we were traded, we didn't talk too much about the game ahead. It was more about their personal situations and their families and their friends. So we don't get into that too much, but it definitely is a unique situation. The way that we're turning around and playing tonight. But after I know from our situation, I can't speak to Toronto, but after today's game, we have a couple of days off. So everyone will have a chance to sort of take a deep breath and regroup. Do what they need to do with their families to get situated in Ottawa. But yeah, they're not easy conversations for certain.
All right. Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Mike. I really
Thanks,
appreciate it.
Chris. Yeah.
Thank you, Chris. Going back now to John Roro, AP.
Thanks, Jean-Francois. Mike, the thing that struck me is and I know there's a personal and hit that players take when they get traded. So I'm not de-emphasizing that, but from a fan perspective, fans love trades and they love talking about trades. And in a 6-team league where two teams swap number one draft picks, that generally doesn't happen even in 2014 or 30-team leagues. Can is there can you talk about the uniqueness or just wow factor of making a deal like this and the apprehensions that might have came into it, if there are any?
You know what? It's funny. It was a very opportunistic situation. So sure, we evaluated every scenario. Obviously, dealing with Gina's a smart hockey person. She's a tough negotiator. So we had to work hard to get to the finish line on this. But yeah, I'm glad the fans are excited about it. I appreciate that some of our fans in Ottawa are disappointed that we've traded away, two players that were first day players. But we traded away Lexi last year. It was a fan favorite, and there was a specific reason for doing that. And I think we're really happy with Shai's play this year. She leads the league in plus minus. So there were reasons for that. We traded Boo last year. Boo is an incredible person in our clubhouse last year. But again, we saw the opportunity to get Teresa on our team, and she's tied for the league lead in goals right now. So again, they're not easy decisions, and I understand that fans are 100% entitled to be disappointed. We have the best fans in Ottawa, so I love that they're so passionate about these players, and I love that they're disappointed because that means they care. So all I can do is assure them that when every decision we make, no decision is taken lightly. We make this because we think this is going to make our team better and help us ultimately win the Walter Cup, and that's what we're trying to do. So, yeah, again, I'm sure there's a lot of attention on this trade because of the names, particularly Jocelyn with her track record and accomplishments. But again, for us, it was just about getting better.
And just one last thing that Gina brought up, and I didn't realize this, but well, actually, she provided some insight into her thinking. With expansion looming, the depth of the roster and adding more depth to the team, she was already looking ahead that way. Did you kind of share the same thing? I mean, did you think of expansion and what an expansion draft might have, the implications of that going into next year?
I'll be honest, John, we've thought about this since day one. I mean, if you look back at our original draft and the expansion, we understood or we believe that there's a shortage of high quality defenders in this league. And we've always approached it that way to make sure we have depth there. We got caught out a little bit last year at the end of the season after we traded Boo just because of some injuries to Zoe Boyd and others. But we've always thought that way, John. So again, this is a trade that we think helps us in the short term, in the medium term, and we feel like we're in a good spot long term as well.
Thanks so much. Best to you in the new year.
Yeah, happy New Year to you as well.
All right, thank you, John. Going back to Tyler.
Mike, you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier with the bold question, but I got to ask, the you and the charge, and even dating back to, like you said, the last year, the team has been one of the most active teams on the trade market this past summer with free agency. What is it like for you to kind of have the reputation as being one of the busiest general managers and one of the busiest teams with player transactions and trying to get new faces? Is that something you pride yourself on, or is that just kind of maybe victim of circumstance?
To be honest with you, Tyler, I laugh at it a little bit. But I want to be known as the GM that wins championships, and that's the ultimate goal. So whatever approach we have to do to accomplish that objective, that's what we're going to do. So that's the title I'd much prefer. So we're working towards this, and again, I think this trade helps us take a step forward in that department.
And I know that the per the league CBA with the players, we do not have salary open. The salaries of these players is not available like we see in the National Hockey League. But was finances or player contract values, was that an issue with any of the trade that was made yesterday?
No, there was no financial considerations. No.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tyler.
All right. All right. Thank you, Tyler. Aiden Bendat Appel.
Hi there, Adine. PWHL report. Hi, Mike. Hope you're well.
Hi,
My
Dean.
question is regarding draft picks and in the future or current. Are teams allowed to trade draft picks in the upcoming draft? There isn't much info on this in the CBA, or I haven't been able to figure any other details about this. So if you could help me out here, that'd be great.
Dean, I think that's actually a better question for the league. If you could direct your question to them, they'll probably be able to answer that better than me.
All right, thank you.
Okay, there's nobody else right now in the queue. Is there anybody else that would have further questions for Mike? Well, no, it looks like you've covered everything, Mike. So I would like to thank the media for attending this Zoom call with our GM in Ottawa, Mike Hirshfeld, and we'll be looking forward to this game tonight in Toronto. Ottawa Charge against Toronto Scepters. It should be an interesting one.
Thanks, everyone. Have a happy new year. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.